Welcome back, everyone. Our next stop on our one-tank trip to Ascension Parish has taken us to this wonderful city called Donaldsonville. Filled with charm and character, Donaldsonville's brand is history lives here. Did you know that Donaldsonville served as the capital of Louisiana for 2 years in the mid-1800s? On top of that, it was also the first city in the United States to elect an African-American mayor. His name was Pierre Caliste Landry. And as you all can see, that's just a few of the many stories Donaldsonville has to offer. And this morning, we're going to be sharing 3 of those stories that make this city so unique. We want to start right here at the Mississippi River. There is a big historical significance for this river, as well as the Bayou Lafourche. And joining me now to talk all about it is the commissioner with the Donaldsonville Historic District. Richard Zarang is joining me. Hello, me good sir.
Yeah, welcome to Donaldsonville.
Thank you so much for having us this morning. I am so interested in learning a little bit more of that connection for the Mississippi River and Bayou Lafourche here in Donaldsonville. What can you tell us?
Well, in the 1600s, you had French explorers who explored the Mississippi River, and they came to this junction in the river and saw this large body of water that branched off, ended up going all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. It was another outlet to the Gulf of Mexico. And they called this area Lafourche de Chitimacha. Lafourche meaning the fork of the Chitimacha, which was the Native American tribe that was here. The Bayou Lafourche became what was known as the longest main street in America because of the commerce that was up and down the bayou. William Donaldson, an Englishman, laid out the city, hired a man in New Orleans to lay out the city. He laid it out. And from there, you had all kind of people coming in with their commerce. You had even the pirates, Pierre and Jean Lafitte, come here, and Pierre lived here for a short period of time.
And what's so interesting is because of that significance of the river and the Bayou Lafourche, there's so many different cultures you can see here in Donaldsonville. And what I also love is that when you come to this Riverwalk area, there are these panels that people can read. Tell us a little bit about those panels.
We have 7 historic panels, portals, what we call them. And they tell the complete history of Donaldsonville. And you can take it, you can walk it as a walking tour, you can ride bicycles, you can drive your car, but you go to each panel and it tells you of the history of that location. And this is where it all started. This is where the city was mapped out, and it started here in Crescent Park and Louisiana Square on the original map. And it's still there today.
So cool, definitely something you should come and see. And you learn a little bit more about William Donaldson, who is, of course, the person Donaldsonville is named after. But what school is that? Ascension Parish also was named after something here in Donaldsonville, too. Richard, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's go learn a little bit more about where they got that name from. All right, everyone, we have moved down the road from the Riverwalk area, and now I am here at the beautiful Ascension of Our Lord Church. And joining me now is a new guest. Please help me welcome a volunteer historian here at Ascension of Our Lord, Mr. Boo LeBlanc. Hello, my good sir.
Well, how are you today?
I am fabulous. It is absolutely beautiful in here, and I know from reading that there is a lot of history of this church. Tell me a little bit about how this church was founded.
Well, the church itself, the building came later, but the church itself as a parish was founded in 1772, and that's 4 years before America declared, independence as a nation. So it's way back. So you some way there was known to be faith in this area. Otherwise, they would not have done that. And who they had down here? They had the Cajuns and Indians at the time. That was about the story. So this building began construction in 1875. But there were other buildings before
And it's absolutely beautiful. So much stained glass, beautiful lighting. And it's also interesting to me because Ascension Parish got its name from this church.
That's correct, yes.
Absolutely amazing. Now let's talk a little bit about the construction. The exterior of this church is absolutely beautiful, but let's also talk about this interior, this stained glass. Is this all the original?
No. Hurricanes blew in a lot. Hurricanes are part of the history of the church. However, a pastor came over named Father Cupins, a young fellow, kind of an upstart, might have been ordained on a ship coming over. And he wanted to put this kind of a building up for the church parish. The one before it was 1845, only 30 years prior to that. And it was not a bad looking building, but he wanted this kind of Gothic architecture.
Wow.
And he built it in.
It's
started
beautiful.
in 1875 and it finished in 1896. Some of these windows, the ones you see that have diamond shape and don't tell a story, they're very beautiful windows. They're all original.
Wow.
But then in the 1930s, two events happened, but the one we're the closest to right now is the Mary and Martha and Jesus calming the sea. That's a Munich, Germany type of stained glass.
It is
and
absolutely
and it
beautiful.
came because the other glass was blown in from a hurricane.
Wow, and look, even though we have just went through a hurricane, it is looking beautiful in here. Boo, thank you so much for joining us this morning to share a little bit more about the history of this church. And what's cool about this area, everyone, not only is there geographical history, religious history, there's also African American history here in Donaldsonville as well. Let's go over to a museum to learn a little bit more about that. All right, everyone, I have made it to the intersection of Railroad Avenue and Charles Street. And what's cool about this intersection is that this meant a lot to the African American community of Donaldsonville. And what's also cool is that when you come out to this intersection, you can actually explore a museum that shares a little bit of that history. Let's go learn a little bit more about the River Road African American Museum. All right, everyone, joining me now is the Executive Director and Co-Founder of the River Road African American Museum. Please help me welcome Mr. Daryl Hambrick. Hello.
Well, hi, thank you. Welcome to Donaldsonville. Welcome to the River Road African American Museum.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. And let me just say, so much to see here, which I think is awesome. And the mission of this museum is also awesome. Please tell everybody what that mission is.
Well, when you talk about a museum, you talk about history, you talk about culture, you talk about art. And music, of course. And so our job here at the River Road Museum is to interpret, collect, and to share with the world what this history represents and how important it is to not only to African American history, but to America's history.
So true, and you can see that all throughout the different exhibits here at the museum. You have one on slavery, one on Reconstruction, a culinary exhibit, and this exhibit, which we're standing in right now, this celebrates the rural roots of jazz. Explain what we can see here when we come check this area out.
Rural roots of jazz, why would we call it that? I mean, there were many musicians who lived throughout the parishes next to New Orleans. They left these small parishes, moved into New Orleans, and became famous. And when you asked them where they're from, they would never tell you that they were from Napoleonville or Donaldsonville. They would say they were from New Orleans. And so we did the research and found out that many of them got their starts right here in the river parishes. So we claim jazz as part of our rural roots here in Donaldsonville.
That is so interesting. And when you come to this area of the museum, there are several interesting things that you learn about some people who are right from this area. First, tell us about Plas Johnson.
Well, Plas Johnson is the musician who actually plays the theme song from the cartoon, The Pink Panther. And I mean, I grew up watching this as a kid, and I'm quite sure most kids today don't even have a clue that Plas Johnson was someone who was born here in Ascension Parish, right here in Donaldsonville, and is this great musician from this great cartoon.
That is so cool. And one that I also found really interesting, reading all the different placards here. I'm a big fan of the color purple, and someone is also featured in this museum who has a connection to that. Tell me about him.
Well, Bill Summers, one of the great percussionists who was born right here in Ascension Parish in the town of Darrow, Louisiana. And if you know your history or know your music and follow Bill Summers, you'll know that he was part of the Color Purple, he was part of The Roots, the movie Alex Haley, as well as played with Herbie Hancock and has been a great percussionist throughout the music genre. So.
That is amazing. So much to see here at this museum, everyone. And what's also cool is that there's a virtual option. All you need to have is a QR code. You're seeing that QR code on your screen on how you can take a look at the virtual tour. But the best way to come and experience this museum, come see it in person. The address is 406 Charles Street, right here in Donaldsonville. You can give a call to 225-474-5553 to set up an appointment, because the only way to take a tour right now is by appointment only. For more information about everything they offer here, head over to aamuseum.org. All right, everyone, our One Tank trip to Ascension Parish continues right after the break. If you're in the mood for a cocktail, we have a place for you. We're gonna be hearing from a place that they say they make the best old fashioned. I can't wait to try it. Stick with us, everyone. You're watching Great Day, Louisiana.